We hear all the time about all these different investment strategies that are out there for professional athletes. But the reality is, oftentimes we need to take a step back, right? The first and foremost thing that a professional athlete needs to understand is, what account should I be contributing to? Hey everyone, I'm Jacob Turner, former Major League Baseball player and current co-founder of Moment Private Wealth. In today's video, I'm going to talk through 5 must-have accounts for every professional athlete. At the end, I'm going to add in a bonus account. And throughout the way, I'm going to talk about tips, tactics, and strategies that I use in each one of these accounts. The first account is one that almost everybody has. Heck, if you have any bank account, you have one. It's a checking account. So why do we have a checking account in the first place? Well, I like to think about our checking account as our cash account. This is the money that we're going to be using on a daily basis that we're going to be spending in and out of. Think of everyday purchases that are coming out of this account. In addition, we have the additional flexibility that if we want to write checks or get money out with our debit card, the checking account can be a great source of that. We literally titled this for our athletes, our cash account, because this is the money that we're using on an everyday basis. So you might not think, well, is there really anything that I need to be thinking about here? And I would say that there is. Really, the biggest thing that I would think about as a professional athlete when it comes to your checking account is making sure that you're at some bank institution, somewhere where you can get access to the money and have somebody that you can talk to that understands what you're going through. So for us at Moment Private Wealth, we focus on helping professional athletes manage and build wealth. Part of that is we connect them with a private bank that institutes their sports and entertainment division to help those athletes. Now, why is that so important? Well, the reality is, if something doesn't work on your debit card at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, you're not calling a 1-800 number. You're actually talking to us, who's able to talk to their team and get things like this figured out. These are little things that, as a professional athlete, it can be really important to understand from your checking account. The second account is your savings account. All right, so what's the difference between a checking account and a savings account? So again, let's think about our checking account as this is our cash account. This is the money that we are spending on a daily basis. Well, as a professional athlete, oftentimes you have this ability to make a lot of money in a really short period of time. That usually means really big paychecks could be coming in every 2 weeks. And what we like to do is we like to separate out the cash account from our savings account. And not just any savings account. Right now, if you look at rates are around 5%. So what that means is about 5% is what you can earn on a risk-free rate of return. And what I'll tell you right now is if you are in a traditional savings account at a big bank or an institution, chances are you're not getting anywhere close to that. Chances are you're getting less than 1%. And oftentimes you're getting far less than even 1%. So what I encourage every athlete to do is make sure that they have a bucket of money for their cash account. That's their checking account. Think about this as maybe 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And then all the other money that's coming in, even if it's not invested, is in what's called a high yield savings account or in a potentially a money market position. Something that you're taking on little or no risk, something that could be FDIC insured, and you're able to earn whatever the risk-free rate of return is. Right now, that risk-free rate of return is about 5%. So let's do a little bit of quick math on this. If we had $1 million in there, which is realistic for a lot of the athletes that we work with because there's things that are changing, maybe we're saving for something in the future. We're not looking to invest this money long-term, but we'd like it to earn something. So if we have $1 million in our savings account, we have 3 to 6 months in our checking account, what does that actually pay us in a given year? Well, at 5%, that's about $50,000 or about $4,800 per month that account is paying you. Now, again, if you're at a big bank or you're at a big institution and you're not in the proper account, that money is not positioned the correct way, you're leaving all that money on the table. So don't discount the fact that having the right savings account in place is vastly important for the professional athlete. The third account here is the Roth IRA and the IRA. Okay, so we're going to group these together. So what is the difference first and foremost? All the Roth means is that it is money that goes in there, grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free in retirement. So that's all that Roth designation means. Outside of that, most of these accounts act very similarly. An IRA just stands for individual retirement account. Okay, so this is not something through the team that you play for. This is something that you can set up on your own. So why is this account so important? Okay, now I almost recommend for every athlete we work with, if we can try to stuff as much money as possible in our Roth IRA account, it's going to hugely benefit you in the future. Because the reality is the money that we put in there is going to grow tax-free, and you're going to be able to take it out in retirement after age 59 and a half, tax-free. So it can be a huge source for you potentially in the future. So how do we go about doing this? Now, there are limitations to how much money you make in order to contribute to a Roth IRA. And for most professional athletes at the highest level, they're making too much money to contribute to that. You can see in this chart here that based on your income that you earn is based on if you can contribute directly to a Roth IRA. So if you're over those income limits, what do? Well, the good news is there's optionality there. The biggest optionality that you have is to do something called a backdoor Roth IRA. Now, a couple things to think about if you're going to do something like this. You need to make sure that you have no other money in any IRA accounts. And in addition to that, you need to make sure that you're doing it the right way. Okay, so you contribute to an IRA account, you let it sit there for a while, maybe a couple days, maybe a week, and then you convert it to a Roth IRA. Convert just simply means you're moving the money. And then at the end of the year, you always want to make sure you tell your tax team exactly what you did. There should be no tax consequences as long as you didn't have any money in an IRA account. And then you'll file what's called a Form 8606. All a Form 8606 does is it allows you to track for the IRS to show exactly what you did in this process. Now, again, the reason why this is my third account on here and one of my favorite retirement accounts for professional athletes is you're going to pay a lot of tax as an athlete. A Roth IRA gives you the optionality to put money in, let it grow tax-free, and let it come out tax-free in retirement. This can be massively beneficial for a multitude of reasons as a professional athlete. The fourth account I have on here is the 401k. So a 401k, we just talked about an IRA and a Roth IRA. A 401k is really similar to a Roth IRA or an IRA, okay? You can contribute to a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k, just like you can contribute to a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. Now, the biggest difference between an IRA account and a 401k is this. One is set up through a company and one is set up by an individual. So if you are playing for a team in professional sports, typically you're going to have access to some sort of 401k plan. And what you want to make sure you understand is, am I set up to contribute to that? If I do contribute to that, do I get any sort of match? Now, what a match means is if I put in a certain percentage, the team or the ownership group will match a certain percentage. As an example, for Major League Baseball players, they get a certain percentage that's automatically added based on their service time in a given year. So this actually isn't a match, but it's really important to make sure that you understand as a professional athlete, what are the different nuances with your 401k plan? The other thing I'll mention with 401ks is these are retirement accounts that the money we're putting in there, it's our longest term money. Okay, we're not looking to touch this money until after 59 and a half. The reason why that's so important is any sort of retirement account is going to give you some sort of tax benefit. This is the government's way of saying, hey, we really want you to contribute to these accounts. Now, with that tax benefit, there are some strings attached. And what I mean by that is if you take the money out before 59 and a half, oftentimes you're going to be penalized around 10%. So it's a pretty significant penalty. This is why it's really important to understand the nuances of the retirement accounts. How much are you contributing? If you are contributing, why are you contributing? If you're contributing a certain amount, making sure that you have additional funds, which we're going to talk about in the next account, to make sure that those are accessible for future opportunities that you have. The fifth account is one of my favorites. It's often underutilized, and personally, I think it's often underrepresented how valuable it can be. It's the taxable brokerage account. So what does that mean? Taxable brokerage, that's kind of a big word. All it means is this is a traditional investment account that has no retirement benefits, but also has no restrictions. So this is an account that anybody can open up. You want to make sure it's titled the right way, and you can invest in this. Now, the reason why this is so important for professional athletes is, given that you are earning such significant money, you only have certain contributions that you can make to retirement accounts, which means there's going to be money above and excess of whatever you can contribute to that. And this is where the taxable brokerage comes into play. Now, again, one of the biggest benefits of this account is that there are very few restrictions in terms of what you can do. There's also very few restrictions in terms of how accessible the money is. That means that if you make an investment and in a couple of years you decide, hey, I'm going to sell an investment and maybe go buy a new house, you can pull that money directly out. Now, there could be tax consequences if investment went up, but you have the flexibility to do a lot of sorts of things here. This is why this account is so valuable for an athlete. From the time I was 18 to the time I was 30 years old, my life changed a lot, right? As an 18-year-old, I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. There really wasn't many people that were relying on me. Now, as a 30-year-old, I was married. I had 4 kids. We had a house. There were all these different factors that came into play. I'd also earned a lot more money, but I wanted to make sure that I had availability to access that money. So for me as an athlete, the taxable brokerage account was arguably my most valuable account, because not only did it allow me to start investing money and let that money to start grow, it also gave me the optionality to be able to pull that money out if I wanted to pull that money out to be able to spend it on something. So if you are a professional athlete, understand these 5 accounts. Okay. Understand the cash account or your checking account. Understand the savings account. Understand the individual retirement account, the difference between the Roth and the traditional retirement account. Understand the 401k. And then also understand the taxable brokerage account. And I'm not going to stop there. The next account I'm going to talk about is a secret account. Okay. It's not actually so secret, but the reason why I like it is you might not be able to contribute to it while you are playing, but it can be hugely valuable after you're done. The last account that I want to talk about, the bonus account, is the HSA, or the health savings account. Now, what is a health savings account, and why am I so excited to talk about this silly little account? Well, the reason why it's so valuable is it is the only account that is a triple tax benefit. What that means is when you put the money in, you get a tax deduction in that given year. As that money grows, it grows tax-free. When you take that money out, it comes out tax-free. Triple tax benefit. Now, the reason why I say it's this bonus account is oftentimes as a current professional athlete, you have great medical coverage. That's an outstanding benefit that you get. In addition to that, oftentimes that's paid for by the team. This does not allow you oftentimes to contribute to an HSA. The reason for that being is you have to be what's on a high deductible plan to contribute to an HSA. Typically, as a current athlete, you're not going to be on a high deductible plan, but in retirement, depending on what league you're in, depending on what the medical situation looks like, depending on if you go out and start a business, things like that, there's going to be different healthcare options that are out there. And you can potentially get on a high deductible plan then, which can benefit you in a couple different ways. One, it can allow you to pay a little bit lower in premiums and allow you to kind of pay as you go. Okay, you don't pay this huge premium up front, but if you end up using the doctor a lot in a given year, you pay as you go. But the other benefit is it opens up the HSA, or the health savings account, where you can contribute a certain amount depending on an individual or a family. And in this account, the money comes in, you get a tax benefit, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free. Okay, the one caveat to this is you need to make sure that you're using it for qualified medical expenses. But the reality is, in retirement as a professional athlete, there's going to be plenty of medical expenses that come up that you want to make sure that you have money to set aside in order to pay for them. So these are the 6 accounts I would focus on. And the reason why I am even making this video is oftentimes we hear about the investments and the insurance and all these different factors, and we totally gloss over the fact that before we ever talk about those things, we need to understand what accounts we should have our money in the first place. Because the reality is, as a professional athlete, you are leaving tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars on the table if you don't allocate your money correctly to the right types of accounts. So use these 6 accounts as an athlete to make sure that you're maximizing your wealth. If you like this sort of thing, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're interested in booking an intro call with our team, you can visit momentprivatewealth.com.